And then the next step would be to respond to that expression. Now it is your turn to communicate, to express yourself in the spirit of benevolence, in the spirit of service. What is the best way to express my benevolence in this situation, to serve this situation? And it could be many different things. It may not be that you say, yes, 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 everything is fine. It might be that you say, look, I do not support what you are saying because it is falsehood. But you do it in the spirit of benevolence, and that will not be harmful to the person. Perhaps to deny that the person is lying and pretending as if everything is okay, it might be easy, and you may not use any confrontational words, but it may lead to more harm, because you are then not challenging that which is harmful to the person himself or herself, or to the community, to others. So benevolence does not mean that you are never going to fight and oppose wrongdoing. No, it does not mean that at all. That is something important to understand. To fight against something that is harming, that is antisocial, that is cruel, it is not malevolent, it is benevolent. The discernment comes when you decide what is the best way to express myself. What will lead to the welfare not only of the person I'm communicating, myself, but the greatest welfare of all. That is the ultimate yardstick of benevolent communication. It is what will lead, what expression of mine will lead to the greatest welfare of all. That is the ultimate yardstick. And so, as you can see, these practices, these steps, demand awareness of us, demand quite a bit of attention. And so we are human. We cannot always be perfect. Am I right? So it will happen that sometimes we, for whatever reason, may not be able to express ourselves in the most benevolent way. But that is human also. And that is part of life also. And I would like to say that making a mistake or expressing oneself less than benevolently is not the biggest problem. It's natural. That's not the biggest problem. That's not why so much misery and suffering is in our world. It's not because people make mistakes or people act malevolently at times. The biggest problem is that when people do it, they do not acknowledge it. They do not recognize it and admit it. Yeah, I'm human and I've done a mistake. I erred and it's causing harm. So let me admit it, let me say it, and let me rectify it, let me make up. But no, my good name. What will happen to my good name if I admit that I could make a mistake? I can't let that happen. So I find all kinds of ways, to lie here and to lie there and to cover up and layer after layer and after layer, and that's where the problem is. That's where misery, where suffering really comes from. Not from human error, not from making mistakes. And so yes, the steps of benevolent communication are demanding, but all we need to do is to be committed to practicing it, which means when we notice that we have erred, that we have done a mistake, we simply acknowledge it to ourselves. We say to ourselves, yeah, I've made a mistake. I erred. I was unconscious. I did not speak well enough. So let me make up for it. It's not what I want in my heart. What I expressed is not resonating with really what I want in my heart. So I'm acknowledging it, and then let me express it. Let me perhaps know the person who is involved, to whom I expressed myself in such a way. Let me tell that to her. And let me make effort and endeavor to rectify, to improve myself, to make up for it. That's all that is required. That kind of commitment. Benevolent communication does not require us to be perfect. It simply requires us to commit to the endeavor to be benevolent. And when we recognize that we have erred, we have made a mistake, or we have lost our awareness or our control, that we simply acknowledge it and rectify, make up for it. As I said in the beginning, most of the clashes and the suffering, the violence in this world is due to a disconnect from core benevolence, which is at the core of every person. And so our endeavor, our practice of benevolence is very, very significant for our individual life, for our inner harmony, for us endeavoring to make a difference, at least by giving an example, to do the right thing in our own life. And that by itself will benefit others, will benefit the world. And then the more we actually impact or are perhaps in a leadership position in this world, the more we practice benevolence, benevolent communication, the greater our contribution to the world is. I think that practice of benevolence and benevolent communication is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to this world.